All right, folks. Let's get started then. Appreciate each and every one of you being here this morning. This is the room that's going to save our country. There's a big difference, right, between those who want to be involved, who say that they want to be involved, and those who actually take those steps to make it happen. You guys are here at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. You could be doing anything right now. You could have slept in. You could be at church. You could be out golfing, but you're here because you care about the future of this country, and you care about making sure that our kids and their kids and their kids never have to grow up in a socialist country. Give yourselves a round of applause. So my name's Brett Galashewski. I'm the Midwest Field Manager for Turning Point Action. I've been with Turning Point Action now for 4 years. It's been really rewarding to help that next wave of precinct leadership change the Republican Party for the better. I think the reality of the situation right now, and Charlie talked about this on the main stage last night, is that the Republican Party apparatus as we know it has become complacent. And when you are complacent, you lose. Right? So the work that each and every one of you do individually to recruit precinct chairs that not only are going to join the party, but help influence it for the next couple generations, it's so critical. And I would argue that this is the make or break year for it, right? So we're a small enough group. I'd like to find out where everyone's from here. So if we could just kind of go around the room just so I know how to kind of tailor this, because precinct chairs are different on a state-to-state basis. Where are Arizona folks? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Awesome. And Representative Austin Smith there in the corner, LD29. Any Georgia folks in here? Okay. Any Wisconsin folks in here? No way. Hey, guys. Any California folks in here? Yeah. You don't. Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Yep. Where else is everyone from? Shout it out. Florida. Oh, Florida. Montana? Colorado? Did I hear Ohio too? Arizona. Awesome. Idaho? Florida. Okay. Any Green Bay Packer fans out there? Big game today. Well, awesome. Well, we'll get started. So, like I said, I'm the Midwest Field Manager for Turning Point Action. I'm also the first vice chair of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County, and we are the home county of the RNC. This next year, the Republican National Convention. So pray for me as we bring them into town. It's already stressful, and we're still 6 months out. So I was elected first vice chair of the Milwaukee GOP in late February. Before that, like I said, I've been with Turning Point Action since late 2019. I oversaw the Students for Trump chapters in the upper Midwest back in 2020. It was really fun trolling the left on campus, registering voters. We were the only group that was actually doing stuff on college campuses during COVID. We weren't afraid of the administration establishment trying to bring us down. It was fun. It was really fun. And then before that, I interned in the U.S. Senate with my senator in Wisconsin, Ron Johnson. You guys heard of him? Yeah. I cannot imagine a U.S. Senate without Ron Johnson. For those of you that pay attention to the work that he's done in regards to medical freedom, really awesome voice to have in there. So follow me on social media. Look for me on social media. I always love to keep in touch with fellow grassroots patriots. Let's get started, guys. So Tip O'Neill, he was a Democrat, but he was the Speaker of the House in the 1980s, and his famous quote was that all politics is local. I really admire that quote because it truly epitomizes why we're all here, grassroots politics. The road to anything in politics starts at the local level. Any decision right now being made by a school board or a city council or a county board, it's going to affect you, your friends, your neighbors, your family way more than any decision being made by idiot Biden at the presidential level. More so than that, it's federalism. It's how our founders intended government to be, close to the people. If you expose people to conservative policies in their school boards and in their city councils, it's going to have a carryover effect when they're voting in state and national elections. We're starting to see this. Are there any Illinois folks in here? Sorry. Yeah. We're starting to see this right now in the Chicago area. Naperville just elected a conservative mayor for the first time in 80 years. Right? COVID kind of accelerated this. People are starting to wake up and realize the importance of having conservative policies at the level that affects them the most. They're going to remember that when they're voting in statewide and national elections. So Tip O'Neill's famous quote, all politics is local. At Turning Point Action, we like to say, win your neighborhood, win your state. Both really epitomize the importance that the road to literally any success that this room is going to have starts at the precinct level. The road to ending the most radically liberal White House administration of our lifetimes starts at the precinct level. So if you go into your recruitment with that mindset, that's the difference maker. That's certainly not the mindset that the RNC is going into it right now. And we'll talk about kind of the apparatus and the flaws right now that exist in that in just a little bit. So let's do that, actually. That's right now. Let's talk about what the local GOP looks like right now. You guys will see that I put many county GOP members are 50 plus. I mean, obviously, who's been to a county GOP meeting before? Okay, so we are Turning Point. Am I being nice when I say 50? Should that number sometimes, at least in Wisconsin, be closer to 70 or 80? Yeah. And I say, after all, we are Turning Point. We are a youth-driven organization. In order for the party to survive and advance, it needs young people to step up and not just join their local GOPs, but have a say in them, influence them, and help determine the future of them. Because like it or not, this decade, Gen Z and millennials are about to become the largest voting bloc. They're about, well, we can clap for that. I mean, some people will say that that's a bad thing. I'm here to tell you guys that we're Gen Z. I'm a member of Gen Z. We're one of the more conservative generations, actually, of the last 100 years. And it's based on how we were raised, right? Think about it. So my parents, their very first presidential vote was in 1984 for Ronald Reagan. So my parents and a lot of Gen Z conservatives grew up being exposed to Reagan-era policies that came down from their parents. Professors exploit that. They know that we have a generational window of opportunity, and they've doubled down on the indoctrination. That's why it's so critical that you get to them early and get them involved off campus, where their voice is going to be more of an impact. The mindset that I think each and every one of you should have towards that next generation is that you want to help them go from being the conservative voices on their college campuses to being the conservative voices in their communities, where it matters most. That's a huge selling point. Knowing that Gen Z is about to become the largest voting bloc and we're going to dominate, statewide and national elections going forward, wouldn't it make sense to recruit young people to be in these slots? It's an introduction to leadership experience. I know a lot of young people are looking to get something on their resume that allows them to look past an entry-level job coming out of college. What better leadership can you show than being the precinct chair? For young people that want to run for office, right, that's a practice run, that's a dry run. Your constituents, so to speak, are your Republican neighbors. We want you guys to take on the mindset as a precinct chair of being the CEO of your neighborhood for the Republican Party. Right now, and this is where I think the RNC has not caught up to yet, and they've realized that we're a threat to their power via this idea, is that there are 400,000 precincts in the United States. Only 200,000 of them actually have a PC, actually have representation. Right? And a lot of counties I've seen, are there any Michigan folks in here? A lot of counties I've seen, the Detroit area, Cleveland area, Chicago, that number's closer to like an 80% vacancy rate. So you can see where the problem is right now. We're not a party at full strength, right? And we'll talk about the voting power that precinct chairs get. This is the most important position in politics. So I had alluded to earlier that we want you to be the CEOs of your neighborhood for the Republican Party. Let's just quick run through what being a precinct chair is. So when you go and recruit PCs, you know exactly what to tell them. One, they register voters. They get the data, right? Your job is to make sure that the guy watching Tucker Carlson at night on his couch down the street from you becomes involved in the Republican Party, right? You need to become the voice of the conservative movement. Be crazy with it, right? People are more likely to get involved if they know that you're not afraid to speak out. I always relate it to my college experience. I went to Marquette University. I sat in the back of all my classes. I couldn't tell anyone that I was a conservative because I was afraid I'd be labeled as the class Nazi, right? The class homophobe, the class misogynist, whatever the left calls us. It wasn't until I left college that I realized that there are far more conservatives in that environment than I ever could have realized. We all were just keeping our mouth shut. It can be the same thing in your neighborhood, right? If I would have seen one other person that wasn't afraid to speak up and let their voice be heard, I would have been 100 times more likely to get involved. Be that voice in your neighborhood. Let's talk about the voting power. This is where this becomes the most important position in politics. I would argue that battles for America are not won in the White House. They're won in your backyard. They're won in your precinct, right? You get to vote on party leadership, right? Chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, all those people that make up those decisions that do affect you and your friends and your family the most. You get to vote for them. So for a lot of PCs or a lot of activists that are really upset with how the Republican Party is being ran right now, this is an opportunity for you to use your voice through your vote to elect party leadership that represents your conservative values and principles. Right? We just did this in Wisconsin. Right now there's a breakout session going on down the hall with the Dane County GOP chair, Madison, Wisconsin. They flipped a 9-year incumbency. Right? A 23-year-old is now the GOP chair, a grassroots-minded GOP chair in Madison, Wisconsin, the belly of the beast. We just did it in Milwaukee. We have a 22-year-old that's the county GOP chair in arguably the most critical county going into next year. It's starting to happen. Gen Z and grassroots-minded conservatives are taking leadership positions. It is so critical that we lay the groundwork for that to happen, and that's through recruiting PCs. Party platform. This is so important because any county GOP that wants to take a stance on something, let's just say it's abortion, let's just say it's their 2A stance, all of that needs to get passed by the precinct chairs. So this is an opportunity to help shape policy. Right? I'll give you an example. So in Georgia, you guys remember when Georgia changed their voter ID laws a couple of years ago? Delta and Coca-Cola got pissed off. They moved the MLB All-Star game. That was just really weird. Yeah, that all started at the precinct level. That was a result of precinct chairs in a lot of important counties coming forward and saying, look, we want the number 1 platform issue going forward to be election integrity and voter ID. So then all of a sudden another county chair is like, yeah, look, my county wants that. And all of a sudden another county chair goes, yep, my county delegation wants the exact same thing. And before long, enough influence worked its way up the poll that the state party adopted it as a platform stance. And that's how the state legislature was influenced. Right? If you're a Republican member of the legislature, you're going to want to listen to the party that elected you. This is where we can make that impact. And that's caught on in a lot of different states. So this is a huge opportunity to, again, represent those values and principles that you as a grassroots conservative have. And then in a lot of cases, PCs get to verify election results. So in a lot of states, if there is a hand recount, which let's be honest, guys, the left is going to try everything that they can to try and steal this thing again. Right? It's going to be close. If a hand recount needs to happen, they will call the precinct chairs from the Democratic side and the Republican side to come in and observe the count. That's their first pool of people that they pick from. Huge opportunity there. I think it goes without saying kind of the gravity of that situation. Read this back to me, guys. You guys are about to become political salesmen. Right? That's the problem right now with the Republican Party. They look at you as just a number. Right? They want to use and abuse you for door-knocking numbers and then spit you back out in the wild. You guys are relationship builders from here on out. You guys are political salesmen, right? It's chess, not checkers. You want to be able to lay the groundwork to create lifelong activists. Go to where the conservatives are. Think outside the box when it comes to where to find conservatives. Right now, Pints in Politics is not reaching new people. Right? All of the Lincoln Day dinners, that's not reaching new people. But where are the conservatives? Where are they that you can find them and talk to them and it's not out of left field that you're talking to them about issues that affect them the most? Let's go over that. Where should we recruit? Recruit everywhere. Who's seen Toy Story? You guys know what this is? Like, recruit everywhere. Let's go over some talking points first. I love this quote. I've been saying this for 4 years. Become the CEO of your neighborhood for the Republican Party. Run the party in your neighborhood the way you want to see it ran. Right? You're upset at the way the Republican Party is right now? Good, so am I. Become a precinct chair. Fix that. Right? I talk to people all the time that are like, yeah, I'm with you guys. I really like what you guys are doing, but I don't want to get involved. Why not? It's make or break. If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Because I would argue we're no more than one generation away from socialism. Right? Making that message clear to grassroots activists that this is minimal effort for maximum impact and that each and every one of us has a role to play in saving our country can go such a long way. It's more than just joining the GOP. We'll take questions at the end, by the way. It's more than just joining the GOP. It's having a voice and influence in the future of the county. This is the first level of leadership in the Republican Party and arguably the last line of defense. Right? I think the biggest misconception about the Republican Party is that it's ran like any other company with the chain of command being top to bottom. That is not true. It is bottom to top. It's truly a grassroots effort. This is where we take over the party. I want you guys to remember this and go home with this. The infrastructure in the Republican Party is there. We as conservatives need to take it over. I'll say it again. The infrastructure in the Republican Party is there. We as conservatives need to take it over. That's the mindset that's going to take back this country. We can clap for that, sure. Okay, where should be recruiting? Recruit everywhere. Right. Not only should you be at conservative events and things like that. That picture on the left-hand side, that was an event with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, right? Events where conservative speakers are coming that might not necessarily be Republican Party events. If the NRA is really active in your neck of the woods, right, go to those events. If they're not going to let you table inside, set up a little table or have a little clipboard outside the event, right? Have a conversation with them. My biggest gripe right now about Trump rallies, love Trump, love the guy, love Trump rallies, such an amazing experience. But everyone gets super fired up, and then they go home, right? They're never going to be more willing to get involved and fired up about it than in that moment. And we just let them go home, right? Think about how effective Trump rallies could be or any big conservative event if everyone signed up to be a precinct chair afterwards, or if everyone signed up to knock doors, or if everyone took a stack of walk books and a stack of door hangers on the way out. Think of the impact that we could make. That's an army that shows up at Trump rallies from each and every state. That's an untapped demographic of activists. That's who we're targeting. That's who the RNC is afraid of. That's the threat to their power. Does that make sense so far? Great. Who's been to a gun show before? Why isn't the Republican Party tabling at gun shows? Very few of them do. I can probably count on one hand how many GOPs are at gun shows. Where are the conservatives going to be? Gun shows, right? If you want to protect the Second Amendment, everyone has that niche issue, right? That issue that they're so fired up about that they'll get involved to all high heavens to protect. That's the Second Amendment. If you're at a gun show, right, you're about 90% conservative, right? I have never talked to a Democrat at a gun show, and if I have, yikes. These are the people that we need to find, right? Gun shows are really cheap to get at, by the way. They're like $50 tops to get a table at, right? And it's a cool experience. It's usually 3 days, right? It's an opportunity to perfect your craft, your recruitment, because it's just constant. And it's an opportunity to talk to them about the issues that matter most to them. Craft your recruitment angle to that, right? If they're super fired up about the Second Amendment, great. This is an opportunity to help influence party platform on the Second Amendment going forward. Oh, your issue is abortion? Great. This is an opportunity to protect life in critical swing states like Wisconsin. Right? Oh, wow, you're really mad at the Republican Party and how they've treated Trump? Awesome. I am too. Let's get involved so we can change that and make sure that MAGA-minded leadership, if that's the case, is in there. People who represent your conservative values and principles. Home Depot, hardware stores, Cabela's, Fleet Farm, Menards, Lowe's. Are tradesmen conservative for the most part? Yeah. They're normal, everyday workers. They don't want to see their hard-earned money go to welfare, go to other people. 9 times out of 10, those people are our people. Why isn't the Republican Party hanging out in front of Menards on a weekend? Why isn't the Republican Party talking to voters at Home Depot? Right? Those are people who are super conservative but have no idea how to get involved with the Republican Party. You'd be surprised how many people outside these walls have zero clue that the Republican Party is holding events on a daily basis, or that there are people out there that want to help them get involved, that there are ways to get involved. These are where those people are. City council meetings, school board meetings. During COVID, we had a prime opportunity to recruit PCs because every single pissed off suburban mom showed up and made it clear that they didn't want masks, that they didn't want their kids getting the jab if they weren't comfortable with it, that they wanted to go back to school. If every single one of those moms that spoke up at those school board meetings became precinct chairs, think about how drastically different the Republican Party landscape would look right now. Again, when you are complacent, you lose. Go to those meetings, identify those people, and then talk to them afterwards. Hey, I really loved what you had to say. Are you involved at all? Hey, I'd love to help you get involved. It's super easy way. Do you want to be the voice of other suburban moms? Do you want to be the voice of your children in the precinct, the future of your children? Church. Church, guys. Why isn't the Republican Party getting more involved in the churches? Those are our people, right? If you believe in God and you're going to church every single Sunday and you make that commitment, I'm sure as hell sure that you are committed to the conservative movement because that's what best represents your values. Yet the Republican Party is not there, right? Think about it. You have a whole pool of people that believe in what we all believe in, but they're not voting. For whatever reason, they are not voting. You need to become that voice that helps them vote and helps them realize that preserving our nation under God is the future of this country. Rodeos. Rodeos. Who are FFA kids? And was anyone an FFA kid or 4-H or anything like that? Yeah. Pretty conservative environment, right? Your friends back then were conservative. Why isn't the Republican Party at rodeos? You need to be at rodeos, recruiting precinct chairs, having that conversation. Right? Wear a MAGA hat or something. Wear something that sets you apart. Someone says, hey, nice hat, bro. Boom. There's your door open. Talk to them. Get them involved. Say, hey, I'm the precinct chair in LD 27. I'd love to bring you to a meeting sometime and show you what we're all about. These are, again, places where conservatives are that go beyond the reach of just a Lincoln Day dinner. This is where all of us need to be. And look, I know it sounds like I'm bashing the Republican Party. And you're like, hey, aren't you part of the party? Yes, I am. But the only reason I joined the party, and the hellhole that it can be sometimes, is because I want to change it, right? That's the future of the party. Who's downloaded the TPA app? Okay, everyone walking out of here, do yourself a favor and download the Turning Point Action app. This is a huge resource. We want this to be the one-stop shop for every conservative activist going into next year, right? It's going to download customized lists for you to just show up, wake up one day and say, you know what? I feel like knocking doors. I feel like talking to my neighbors. I feel like relationship building with the other conservatives in my neighborhood. This is the tool for you guys to do it. This is going to bring you to those conservatives. Open up that conversation with them. Hey, I'm the precinct chair in your neighborhood. I'd love to talk with you about what the Republican Party is up to. What are your concerns? Right? Again, there's a human element to politics that exists. And I think somewhere along the way that got lost. Right? That's what the founding fathers took on going into this country and creating it, is that personal mindset of it, making it very relatable and real. Again, somewhere along the way that got lost. It's up to you to restore that. This is a huge way to do that. So download the Turning Point Action app, use it to find those conservatives in your neck of the woods or wherever you are in that moment, and go talk to those folks. Right? It's completely not out of left field knowing the political environment that we are in right now to start that conversation. And in fact, I think that they would really welcome that, right, with your mindset versus the, hey, I'm from the Republican Party. Are you going to be voting this year? No. Hey, I'm from the Republican Party. I just wanted to introduce myself to you and let you know that there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved. Here's my phone number. I'd love to let you know, or I'd love to invite you out to an event sometime. Relational organizing. This is a kind of cool thing that I like to do sometimes when I'm bored, is registering voters from your couch. So go back home and go on Facebook and type in keywords like Wisconsin new movers or like new to Wisconsin or things like that. There are Facebook groups where people are moving to your home state and they're like, hey, what are some good restaurants and things like that? And then do some digging here. Do some homework. Look for context clues. I had a situation once where someone was like, hey, looking for a cool restaurant that's not woke in the Madison area. I was like, that dude's a conservative. So I click on his profile, right? He's got a lot of conservative stuff on there. He's posting a lot of Steve Bannon stuff. I'm like, okay, that's one of our dudes. Shoot him a message. Hey, I'm Brett. I'm the vice chair of the Milwaukee Republican Party. Did you know that we have a GOP club here? I'd love to get you involved. Sends me a message back a couple days later, shows up at our first LD meeting. Boom, he's a consistent activist now. This is that reach that we talk about. And those groups exist all over the place. You can do it from your couch. You can do it from your work. Anytime that you have a free moment. This is a huge untapped pool here. Finding those conservatives, right? You're not going to do that to everyone, right? Because that might result in Democrats getting involved in the Republican Party. We don't want that. But do the extra step, the extra homework, and find out, okay, I think this person's conservative. Boom. Hey, hi, how's it going? I'm from the Republican Party. Would you like to get involved? This is something I like to do too. So like any local level races or things like that, if you guys have like a Democratic candidate and somebody like laugh reacts to it or ha-ha reacts to it, which you could do on Facebook, Send that person a DM and say, hey, I noticed that you was trolling this person. Where do you live? I'd love to help you get involved. Things like that. Again, outside the box ways to find those PCs. This is fun. I love to do this at every presentation that I do because it shows the grassroots work that each and every one of you have done on a national scale. So this was Congress right before COVID. Oh, 1 second. There we go. This was Congress right after COVID. This was the Congress that was elected when Trump lost, in quotation marks, in 2020. And then this is Congress now. I'll go back. What do you guys notice? Let's look at Iowa. Pretty cool. Let's look at Minnesota. So that's Minnesota's 7th congressional district. That one is kind of a statistical anomaly. So that district had been represented by a Democrat in the House since 1991. But with every single presidential cycle that was going on, the Republican candidate for president kept winning that congressional district. But for some reason, it was represented by a Democrat in the House. Weird, right? In 2020, a woman named Michelle Fischbach, for any of the Minnesota people that are here, stepped up and ran and knocked off a 30-year incumbent. So for the first time in 30 years, we have a Republican in that district. Look at Wisconsin. That's Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district. That had been represented by a Democrat since 1996, literally my entire lifetime. It had been represented by a Democrat. We now finally have a conservative in that spot. So what can you guys see from this? Just shout it out. Yeah, we're getting redder. We have a lot of Republican momentum, right? You cannot argue that. But now is not the time to let off the gas. Remember the very first thing that I said when I got up here is that when you are complacent, you lose. The best play in the Democratic playbook is them assuming we're going to look at maps like this and say, oh yeah, we're fine, guys. We got this in the bag. We're good. No. The left is going to swoop in there, catch us being complacent, and take us out. And I think that's why the red wave that was supposed to happen in 2022 was more like red ripples. We cannot let our foot off the gas, right? If you're living in a super blue area like I do, Milwaukee County, you might be thinking to yourself, why would I get involved? There's no reason for me to do that. And what I would say is that you can be the voice that creates that trickle-up effect, the kingpin activist. If you get in your super liberal precinct, you get that group of 4 or 5 conservatives that you've identified and you build a little coalition and you start outreaching out to maybe some moderate conservatives or maybe ones that like, I don't know if I want to get involved, and you get them to change their vote or get them to become hardcore grassroots conservatives, and you get, say, 6 of those people to do that, you can literally mean the difference in a win or a loss for this country. And I say 6 for a very specific reason. Does anyone know about this? This is Iowa's 2nd congressional district. We just had a congresswoman get elected by 6 votes. 6 votes. This is Iowa's 2nd congressional district. This is where the University of Iowa is. This is where Cedar Rapids is. This is where the Quad Cities is. This is a really urban part of Iowa, relatively speaking. The Republican won by 6 votes. If you think that those people who worked on that campaign or volunteered for that effort would have known ahead of time that that race was going to be decided by 6 votes, that they would have gone into it with a little bit different of a mindset, of course they would have. That's the mindset that each and every one of you needs to have going into 2022. Every single precinct and every single nook and cranny of that district meant the difference in a win or a loss. I remember Nancy Pelosi was pissed. They tied it up in court. It went to the last day of the session. They recounted it 3 times. They got 6 votes every single time. Effective precinct chairs made the difference. Don't just join the GOP. Lead it. Those are my parting words to you guys, and then we'll open it up to questions. This is that now or never moment. If you have friends and family in your lives that are just as passionate as you are, and they're not here, they don't know how to get involved, they're not even thinking about getting involved, it's up to you to be those voices to help those people in your lives get on board. Our country depends on it, guys. So with that, I'd love to open it up to questions. Really appreciate you guys being here this morning. This was an awesome room. I was really worried at 9 a.m. on a Sunday what kind of turnout we were going to have. This is so cool, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. Cool. And then we do have a microphone up front, so if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll come to you. We'll go with him first. The gentleman with the blue shirt.
I'm a veteran, and
Thank you for your service, by the way.
I see the veterans. I go to the veterans meetings, and these poor guys are like hiding in the shadows. You know, they're like sitting on their couch, watching the TV, or playing golf. I mean, so much. I'm not capping on golf. But
Right, I love to golf, but
it's like old men chasing their balls around.
Right.
No.
Right.
But it's like, I'm sorry, but I have veteran friends that are hiding. They have PTSD still. All these men have PTSD. And that's just a term for a mental problem, you know.
Yeah.
Which is they hide in the shadows, and they're medicated, a lot of them. And the enemy is won through that, you know. And so I feel like I could be a voice with them. You know,
Please do.
in my county.
Please do.
Nevada
yeah,
County.
absolutely. Yeah, give them a round of
Nevada
applause.
County, California.
Yeah.
There's a new state proposal now. It's called New California, and it's all the red area that we saw on the map. I think that could happen. Or we could turn California around to becoming a Republican state again. It was at one time a Republican state.
A lot of veterans I talk to, what they went through, they would never wish that upon their children. They would never wish that upon their grandchildren. That's what they're fighting for. There's a role for everybody to play in the grassroots, right? If they don't want to knock doors, they can make phone calls. They can write postcards. There's something for everyone. So thank you, sir, for your service, and thank you for being that kingpin activist among a very important voting bloc. Let's go with the gentleman with the flag hat there. Is that a Conventions of States hat?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Will this slide deck be available on the website or somewhere?
So we've been recording this today, and this is going to be up on our Turning Point Action website very soon. So we have an awesome resource now where we're going to put trainings just like this up on our website for everyone to see, right? We don't want to just hide this, right? This is an amazing resource for everyone. So tpaction.com, you'll have the app hopefully downloaded when you walk out of here, and that'll pop up on there probably within the next couple weeks. So thank you. Good question.
Thank you.
We'll go to the gentleman up front here.
I'm a Precinct Committeeman in Scottsdale.
Awesome.
I'm 70. A lot of the people are my age. I talk to, a lot of nice women. And by the way, you're sort of a Natalie lookalike, right? Bannon, right? Anyway, how do we is getting rid of Rana? Is that Charlie wants to? I want to. Is that a recruiting tool, or talk about that to younger people that we influence?
Ultimately, if we do our job in recruiting precinct chairs, that'll take care of itself, right? That trickle-up effect. We're recruiting precinct chairs to elect county leadership that represents grassroots-minded people, who then will elect state party leadership, who can change the game, who then will elect national party leadership. So I live in a state that went 0 for 3 in the last Republican Party chairwoman race. I think it speaks volumes that Ronna McDaniel got the most votes that she's ever gotten in this past election, coming off of 3 straight butt whoopings, right? That just shows the swamp runs deep. This is us draining it, right? This is how it starts. There are 400,000 precincts in the U.S. 200,000 of them don't have a precinct chair. This is how we get the party back up to full strength. Yes, ma'am. We'll go to...
I think I can yell louder.
Okay, awesome. I love your enthusiasm.
I'm a veteran too, and I'm disgusted with my brothers and sisters who do their service and then go home and sit on their butts.
Yep.
Can you hear me better now? Now I don't have to yell. But anyway, I would like to ask what kind of sales pitch or what kind of response would you get? Because American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I'm forgetting, what's the other one? Help me out, vets. Disabled American Veterans. Anytime you talk about, hey, can I talk to your folks about just registering to vote? Oh, we don't get political. We don't get political. And I hear that at churches too. How would you respond to that?
We're long past that point. especially with churches, like keeping the idea of politics and church separate. They're one and the same now because our religious freedoms are at stake. But in regards to your question about veterans, and I had alluded to this earlier, most veterans, what they went through, they don't want their kids to do or go through that, right? The feelings that they have, the experiences that they had to go through, that is something they don't wish upon their worst enemy, right? And right now, as it stands, their grandkids are going to get drafted if we continue to go down this path. So it's them protecting their grandkids and future great-grandkids. If they're not going to be motivated by that, I don't know what'll motivate them, right? It needs to become very personal, right? Everyone has that one niche thing deep down inside of them that'll get them involved. For a lot of veterans, I know that family and the idea of their grandkids not going through what they went through is what's going to get that out of them. So please, if you can help make that clear, and don't be afraid to be aggressive with that message and help them realize that just like they got drafted, that will happen to their grandkids. Yeah, follow up. Yeah, sure.
Also, just to let you all know, I'm on the state executive board, and I did that by getting through becoming a precinct in Washington. We call it Precinct Committee officer.
Awesome.
And it's the national. Hey, Lisa, the national. Your state committee man and woman are the one who vote for the RNC chair.
Yes.
So Trump can't fire them. I keep trying to tell people on social media, it's got to be the national state committee woman. Find out who they are and tell them who you want, and learn Robert's rules, because Washington State actually endorsed Harmeet Dillon, and our national state committee man and woman went and voted for the other person.
Awesome.
And so they're being replaced.
Yeah, quick follow-up on that. There's a breakout session going on right now that talks about how to become a delegate to state convention that elects those people that ultimately vote in Rana or Harmeet. That's also going to be on our website very soon. Obviously, you guys are here, and it's going on right now. But in a lot of states, the number one requirement to become a delegate and have that voice is being a precinct chair. So just keep that in mind as well. Let's go to Marco over here. Marco is a county chair in Illinois, or a township chair in the belly of the beast. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I'll just enunciate. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So, Brett, just quickly a comment, and then I had a question.
Awesome.
So, in Illinois, the state Democratic Party has actually made contributions directly to school board candidates at the local level. That's usually there's that, you'll hear your local school board members and local municipal officials say that this is not a partisan race, this is about doing what's right, and then now you see that money goes to these people. Local party organizations are the vehicle to influence local elections now. The Democrats have opened that can of worms. So who else is doing that but you guys in these party roles? That might be a way to get people fired up. And then another kind of, I guess, the question, okay, great, we've got someone to come in the door. How do you keep that person, that first meeting that they go to, like some of these party organizations that I've had the chance, maybe you've had a chance to see, this is not maybe the welcome mat is not being kind of rolled out. What kind of experience should we be creating? And even if maybe there's a chair who doesn't, is kind of not there, not with it yet, but you're in there. What can you do to kind of help curate that experience?
Yeah. Well, one, it starts with electing leadership that's going to change that. But that aside, I know as a young person, the initial challenge that I had getting into the Republican Party is that there are a lot of county chairs in this country that'll preach day in and day out that they want young people to get involved until the second a young person walks into the door, right? Then it turns into, hey, appreciate you being here, but why don't you just sit in the back? Why don't you just listen, right? They want you to be involved for the optics of it. They want to use and abuse you for door knocking numbers, but don't you dare have a say and influence in what happens. So I'd say the number one way to keep them around is make the juice worth the squeeze to them. Make it worth it. Turn it into a party. That's one thing at Turning Point Action I think that we've really embodied is changing the Super Saturday model, as we call it, changing the idea of a Republican Party event. If you're out door knocking, turn it into an experience, right? It's really hard to get somebody to wake up on a Saturday morning to do anything, let alone door knocking. What we did at Turning Point Action is we turned it into a party, then with the option to door knock, right? So we bring out high caliber speakers, right? People like Charlie. I know Roger Stone spoke at one of ours down in the Miami area. Someone who's going to bring out that crowd. Have some free food, make it fun, blare some music. We were blasting music before I came on stage, right? Make it fun. People are more likely to get involved if they feel that it's worth their time and that they're part of something bigger than themselves. So you have to, again, if you're complacent, you lose. We talked about that. Persistent innovation is the idea of always changing your playbook, right? Always making your events funner, cooler, bigger, faster, stronger, right? Keeping those people around and helping them feel, relational organizing-wise, that they're part of something. So that's what I would say. Make it fun. If you can't be in the leadership that does it, offer yourself up to take on something like events chair or membership chair. Create a position for yourself and create that faction that people are like, yeah, you know, the guy who runs the county party, he's all right, but I really love going to their events because so-and-so, the PC in Precinct 67 runs them, and she's awesome, and she puts on an awesome party. Does that make sense, guys? We'll take one more question. Let's go with you. Yeah.
I'm a refugee from California.
Oh, my goodness.
And I lived there since 1957.
Okay.
And I'm in my 70s.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I couldn't wait to leave. And I've only been here 9 months.
You've been here in Arizona?
In Arizona.
Okay, so you're one of
And-
the Arizona Californians that actually votes red when they move here.
Exactly.
We need more of you.
I'm also a notary public, and I became an Arizona notary public now.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, Fontes has had to sign my commission certificate, but that's his job.
Yeah.
But even when you're talking to, and I was started campaigning and working in campaign offices when I was 12.
Awesome.
You know, licking envelopes and doing all that kind of stuff. And, you know, families need to get their kids as teenagers, young teenagers, involved in that kind of thing. Anything that you could do that's menial, but it makes a difference when you see those envelopes stacked up that you're mailing out.
Yeah, if you guys are going to remember anything else from what I'm telling you, I want it to be this as well. Leadership is creating other leaders. And you, ma'am, are leading by example. So thank you. Let's give her a round of applause real quick. She came from California. All right, folks, I am going to stick around for about 15 minutes. We do need to wrap up. There is another breakout session in here at 10 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for being here. And enjoy the rest of the conference. We have an awesome day ahead of us.